Hi, today we're going to learn how to make a reverse perspective drawing of a room. It's a really fun project and it creates a great optical illusion. We're going to start with our 12 by 12 inch piece of drawing paper, a regular pencil, a 12-inch ruler, and we need a straight edge also that's longer than 12 inches. So you could use our 18-inch ruler, or for today's purposes, I'm just going to use a straight edge of this piece of paper. Now the way we're going to start is by lining up our straight edge from one corner to another corner diagonally, and you want to make sure that the corners are exactly where they need to be, and don't get sloppy with that. We need accurate lines. I'm going to draw a diagonal line lightly with a pencil, and then I'm going to do a diagonal line in the opposite direction. Again, being careful to line up the two dots. Okay, now that's all we actually needed to find the very center point of our paper. The next step is going to be creating a square shape right in the middle of our piece of paper, and that's going to be the back wall of the bedroom. So if we want this room square, the back wall, to be about 2.5 inches, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what the middle of 2.5 inches are, and that is 1.25 inch, which is right here. So I'm going to put the 1.25 inch on my dot, and then I am going to mark at the 2.5 inches and then at the 0. That means that our space is directly in the center of the paper. Now I'm going to measure and see that this mark is 4 3/4 inch in from the edge of my paper. Now to make an exact horizontal line, all I have to do is find another point to make a mark at the 4 3/4 inch. If I connect these 2 points, then I know that they are parallel with the edge of our paper. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. If we measured correctly, this should be 4 3/4 also, and it is. So now we're going to have to make another 4 3/4 inch mark, and we're going to have to make another horizontal parallel line. Now if you'll notice, all of my pencil lines are very light because we will be doing a lot of erasing eventually. Okay, now we want to do the same thing going in the other direction. So again, 1.25 inches has to be right at the center. Then we're going to mark at the beginning of the ruler and at 2.5 inches. And we know, since this paper is square, that this is going to be 4 3/4 inch away from the side of the paper. So I'm going to move down and make one more mark that is 4 3/4 inch. I'm going to line them up, but the only place I need a mark is in the center between these two lines. Okay, now I'm going to see that this is 4 3/4 of an inch. And I am going to put another mark at 4 3/4. And that is how we make sure that the line is going to be exactly parallel with the side. So you have to make your measurements carefully and accurately. Okay, now I am only going to need that one also. Now this little square is directly in the center of our paper. Now that that is there, we do not need these inside diagonal lines, and we actually don't need anything except our square and our center point. If you remember, that center point we're using is called the vanishing point. Okay, so we'll get rid of all that, and we'll have this a little bit simpler to look at. Erase all your marks. Okay, so now we're going to have to do some more measuring. So you're going to take your ruler, and we need to measure and mark a dot 1.5 inches in from the side of the paper. But we want that dot to be at the very bottom of the page. So if you can tell, I am using my ruler. I'm going up to 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to make my little mark. Now I need to do that all the way around the paper. So I'm going to make 1.5 inches away from each corner. 1.5 inches away. Up in this corner, we're going to be accurate and make a little mark at 1.5, and another mark at 1.5, and we only have one corner left to go, and we are going to mark that at 1.5, and this last side at 1.5. Okay, the next part is we are going to connect the corners of our squares to the little point we made right at the edge of the paper. And every corner is going to be connected to both of the marks at the edge of the paper on each corner. So there are two. Now this one I'm gonna line up with this mark and line up again perfectly in the center of this corner, and then draw a light line. And now I'm gonna find this mark, line it up with the center, and make another line. I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around the paper. Remember, I'm going to keep reminding you, accuracy is very important. So make sure that you really line up the very corner. If you get sloppy about it, then when we go to make a three-dimensional model with our drawing, it will not turn out nice and even. See, again, there's the little dot we made, and here's the corner of the square, and I've got that done. Later, we are going to be cutting on one of each of these corner lines. So to help us right now, I'm going to show you, I guess we already said that this is the back. I'm going to write it super lightly. That's the back of our room. This part facing me is going to be the floor. This side is the left side of the room, the left wall. This side will be the right wall. And obviously what's left is the ceiling of the room. Okay. Now I am not going to force you to do the exact same drawing that I'm doing, but for the floor, I think it will be easiest if we all do a checkered or a tile floor. Then I'm going to give you more freedom on the other walls and the ceiling. So now what we have to do is we have to take our ruler again, because we want our floor edges. Let me turn it around so you can see the numbers. We want our floor tiles to line up and look like they're going back into space also. So this is 9 inches between this, the beginning of the ruler, and your 9-inch mark. What you want to do, and this is just for the floor, is make a little mark at every inch. So we should end up with basically 9 marks, but 8 spaces. Remember our lonely vanishing point back there. We're going to be using that now. I'm going to erase where I wrote floor because I'm going to be drawing over that. Now your job is to connect every point on the edge to that vanishing point. Only you don't have to go up into the back wall. You just need to start at the floor edge. So I'm going to take my pencil, I put it on one of these dots, and then I line it up with the vanishing point, and I'm going to make my lines. So these are going to be all the vertical lines for our tile floor. Now, if you'll notice, the front edge of this, we have the tiles an inch apart. But in the back of the room, they're far closer than that inch. The reason is because it's back further in space, and things appear smaller as they go back into space. It's kind of how we fool the eye. Okay. So I have now got all my vertical lines going straight to the back of the room. Now what I need is I'm going to need some horizontal lines. These you can kind of wing. I start with the width of the ruler, and then each line that you make that's going to go back, you're going to get a little bit smaller. But you want to try and compare it to this vertical line or this horizontal line, so that they don't start going all wonky. You want to try and make sure that they are parallel. So that one's a little bit smaller. Now this space, I'm going to make even a little bit smaller. And I can see my previous line through the ruler. So that is helping me to know how big those squares are that I'm making. And if you can tell, I'm just trying to get a little smaller each time. Make sure the ruler is going straight across. And then I'll make the final line back here. So you can tell that this then is meant to be a tile floor, and it appears to be going back in space to the back of our room. Now I'm going to erase the word back again. And now you can decide what to put on the back of your room. I'm going to put a door. So I'm going to line my ruler edge with the side of the back wall, and I'm going to pull it in a little bit and just make a vertical line on one side, and then come over a little bit farther and make another vertical line, and then give the door a top. Try and make it perpendicular to this line. So that means there's a 90-degree angle between these two lines. Now I like to do a lot of detail, so I'm just going to create a little trim board around my door. And that's just by giving it another little edge. And then I'm going to put a doorknob on, and that door is ready to go. Off to the side here, I may make a small window. So again, we just need 2 horizontal side or vertical sides and 2 horizontal sides. And that can be your window, and if you want, you can give the window a frame also. All right. The next thing we want to pay attention to are the left walls and the right walls. Now is where you get to use your creativity. What do you want to see in your room? Do you want to see wallpaper? Do you want to see posters? We can have windows. It's completely up to you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to draw a window on the right wall. So I'm going to decide I want my window to be kind of in the middle of this wall. So I'm just going to give myself some guidelines to start with. So the outside of my window, I'm going to make about this tall. You can have yours be thinner, wider. It's completely up to you. Once I have that side, then when we were practicing 1-point perspective, we learned how to make a square go back in space. So what I'm going to do, all I did was line up this corner with my vanishing line again, vanishing point, I'm sorry. Now I'm going to line up this edge of this corner with my vanishing point again, and I'm going to draw that line. And that gives you the top and bottom of your window. And I'm going to finish it up with a darker line here and a little bit darker line here. Again, I'm going to clean it up and erase the stuff I don't need, which is anything but this window space. Again, remember me, I'm picky about this, but I like to do a frame around the window. So all I'm doing is making a small space and drawing a line that's exactly parallel to the line it's next to. Okay, so now I have a window on this side. I think I'm going to make a poster on this side of my wall. So again, I need to decide how tall my poster is. If I know this right here is the bottom of my wall, and this line here is the top of my wall, then I'm just going to make a vertical line straight up and down, and I want my poster to be pretty big. So I'm going to make it that large on my wall. And remember, from the window, we're going to take the edge or the little end point. We're going to line it up with the vanishing point, and we're just going to draw our light line. I'm going to do it again from this vanishing point, or from this vanishing point to the corner of the poster, and I'm drawing another light line. Now, I want my poster to be one that is vertical, that's longer the up and down way than it is across. So I'm going to cut this poster off right about there. Now this poster, you're free to decorate however you want. You may want to remember, if you want to make some words on it, like a title, those words are going to be in perspective also. So you may want to just give yourself a couple of guidelines. And now I know that I can make my letters inside of those guidelines. This is dating me. Kiss was a rock band when I was young. Okay, and I could draw all kinds of things on there. For the ceiling, just for fun, I'm going to give it another window. So it'll be a skylight this time. So I'm going to decide how far towards me I want the window to come, and just draw a horizontal line. And then I don't really want it to be that wide, so I'm going to erase some of that line. Let's make it kind of line up with this wall. So that would be right here, and the edge of this wall would come up right about there. Okay. So now we have one edge of our sky window, and guess where we take the points? We're going to take the ends of our line and connect them to the vanishing point, and draw lightly until you know it's a line you want to save. Both edges come down, and then I decide how long I want my window, and I'm thinking this is long enough. So now we've got light that's coming down into our room. I'm going to do the edges, or like a window frame again, just by drawing lines a little bit in from our outdoor line, or our outside lines. You want to make sure it's parallel to the edge line. And there you go. Okay, now if you want to get really tricky, to show more depth in this window, what we would actually see from this angle is we would see the window, the depth of the window going towards the outside. And I would just draw another line there, and you can kind of shade that in and see how that looks like the thickness of the window going out. I can also make another line on the outside edge here, and that will show you here that the window is something that sticks out from the wall, and isn't just a flat thing like a poster. And I can do that on the ceiling also. Just an extra little line up there and an extra little line up here. I just think that this really helps it kind of pop out in space. And we'll shade that just to show you the effect. Okay. All right, now it is time for you to color and decorate your room. You can use colored pencils or markers, whichever one works best for you. But remember, outside our window, think about what you would see out there. Like, would you see a tree? Or maybe there's a whole bunch of trees. Maybe, and I like to make kind of uneven little blobs, kind of like I'm making a cloud. That's the easy way to do a tree. And then we can do one up. Here's a little blob of leaves and another blob of leaves. You may see the horizon line outside. We may have a happy little bush, or even a little bunny rabbit that is by the bush. So you can draw whatever you want to outside. You can put clouds in your sky if you want to. You can have a bright sun looking into that area if you want to. Whatever. This part's up to you. So do this. Make sure it's all colored, and then we'll start again.